If you transplant at the wrong time, you don't just slow your plants down, you potentially ruin months of sales. But if you transplant at the right time, your crops not only grow faster, it gives you time to fit more crops in the same space on your given land base, because that first crop you plant is going to grow faster. So by the end of this video, you're going to know my exact step-by-step process that I use on my farm to decide when to transplant my crops throughout the entire season. And if you haven't already, you should totally hit that subscribe button over here, because I post new videos every week about how you can farm veggies in your backyard as a business. I'm Zach Buckle. I'm a year-round veggie farmer in Cody, Wyoming. And using this transplanting strategy, we were able to grow 2 to 3 crops in the same space in our short 120-day growing season here in Wyoming. So step 1 in the process is to check your plants. So this is the first place I start in my decision for when I'm going to transplant crops. And it basically depends on whether or not the plant has filled out the entire cell of the pot that you're growing it in. So this example is celery. Celery takes forever to grow. It takes 10 weeks to grow into a plant. And these particular plants are still not really ready to transplant because they haven't quite filled out the cell. And their roots are starting to fill the whole cell. But if you look closely here, there's a decent amount of roots there, but I kind of want it to be completely white around the entire perimeter of that plant cell. So whenever I throw this in the ground, its roots are going to be touching the soil right away, and the plant will just take off. So making sure that the plant is close to filling the entire cell with roots is really important, and it's pretty much how I decide when I'm going to start thinking about transplanting. And so these particular celeries are probably 3 to 4 weeks away from being ready to plant, and I just know that because celery takes so long to grow. But every single plant will grow faster in the cell depending on what it is. But celery is by far the slowest. So I start there. So the second part in checking the plants is, as soon as the roots have filled the cell, I make my decision based on how long that particular type of plant can stay in the pot without getting stunted. So for example, the celery can stay in the pot for a long time. There's a long window of time. Once it fills out the cell, you got a good 2-3 weeks to get that thing in the ground before it gets too stunted, because it grows so slowly. But tomatoes, on the other hand, like these, are very touchy. As soon as these things fill out the cell, I want them in the ground immediately, because they do not have a long time to stay in the pots without getting stunted. Like this guy is about a week away from being perfect to plant. This guy over here is about 2 weeks earlier we transplanted him, and he is just now getting to the point where he's probably going to start getting stunted. If I put him in the ground, he's not going to grow as fast. So each type of plant will be able to stay in the pot for a different length of time. So things like celery can do a long time. There's a long window of time they could hold into a pot. Parsley, any slow growing crops have a lot of flexibility. Stuff that grows fast in general, as soon as it starts to fill the pot, you want to get it in the ground as fast as possible. Stuff like bok choy, this cilantro here, lettuce, those kinds of things, as soon as that root fills the pot, you want it in the ground right away so it doesn't get stunted. All right, so step 2 in the process is check the weather. This probably is not a huge shock to you, but checking the weather is a huge part of the decision-making process of when to plant your transplants. So what I'm looking for in general is about a 10-day forecast where the majority of the days are in the 70s during the day and 50s at night if I'm transplanting outside. Obviously, a lot of times in the summer and the fall and the spring, you're not going to have those kinds of temperatures, but that is the ideal. That's what you're going for. So if you see a nice window of time where that's happening in the next 10 days, I will, like if I saw a 10-day forecast that had 40 degrees in the day and 20 at night for 3 days, and then 70 and 50 for the week after that, I would obviously wait for the 70 and 50, because the 40 and 20 temperature spread is definitely bad for almost every transplant. It also does depend a little bit on what you're transplanting. Like for hot weather crops, you want to wait until there's 0 chance of frost, obviously, and you have consistent 50-degree temperatures at night. But for frost-tolerant crops, which is majority of what we grow on my farm, we're looking for that 70-50 spread also. So you really just want to check the weather. Obviously, in the summertime, you're going to have times where it's 90 in the day and 60 or 70 at night. So what you'll have to do is pick the closest to the 70-50 spread that I mentioned and just plant in the morning and just have to really monitor them close. Sometimes you just have to plant because the plants are ready and they're going to get stunted if you leave them in the pots for too long. So at that point, you're going to want to start hardening them off and getting them outside. So in general, you want the nicest weather possible without rain and wind and crazy things like that. But sometimes it's just out of your control. So that's why starting your seeds at the right time is really important here, because if you start your seeds too early, you have a lot worse weather usually to transplant into. So usually it's better to wait to start seeding in your climate when the plant will be mature at the time where the weather is the least amount of volatility. A lot of times seeding too early just gives you plants that are ready too early. You transplant them too early, they get stunted. So your chance of success really goes up if you just wait for the ideal time on every single crop. So step 3 in the process of deciding when to plant is considering the final destination of where that transplant is going. So on my farm, I'm thinking, is it going in a heated greenhouse, an unheated greenhouse, or outside on the field? Each one of those situations requires a little bit different attention. And then I'm checking the soil temperature in each one of those places. I don't want to plant in soil that's colder than 50 degrees. So this really matters a lot more in the spring, and it matters the most outside in the field when you don't have any greenhouse effect warming up the soil. In a greenhouse like this, in April, when it's springtime, the soil is much warmer than it will be outside because the greenhouse effect is warming it every day. But I still check it just to be safe, and even whether I'm doing this in the field or not, I'm just using a regular meat thermometer and sticking it about 3 inches in the ground, and if it's above 50, then it should be safe to plant. Ideally, you want the temps to be as close to 70 as possible, but sometimes you just can't wait. I won't go below 50 for everything, and I try to get as close to 70 as possible. So if I have to wait outside in the field for the soil to warm up, I know that's going to be worth it, because as soon as I put those transplants in the ground, they're going to take off and grow way faster. And the last part of this is just how well are the beds prepped for that transplant. So if the beds are not completely ready to go, then I can't plant them there, and we'll have to push off the transplant until the beds are completely prepped. So for example, these brand new no-dig beds are almost prepped, but they still need to be raked and irrigated to have water saturated through. So they're not completely ready, so I can't make my final decision on when to transplant in here until that is done. So on my farm, that's the #1 priority right now, is to actually get these raked and irrigated so they're ready to transplant as soon as possible. So step 4 is make the final decision on when you're going to plant. And I like to do this about 7 days before I actually make the transplant happen. Doesn't always work that way, but I try to make the decision, okay, we are going to plant on this day because all the plants are aligned. I've got people, I've got my beds prepped, and it gives me time to harden off plants if I need to. So if you're transplanting outside, you definitely need an extra 3-4 days to harden those plants off to the outdoor conditions before you actually transplant. In a greenhouse, it usually doesn't matter very much in my experience, but I like to make the decision about a week in advance. Here's the date, here's what we're gonna do, everything's ready to go. All we gotta do is put plants in the ground. So step 5 is plant the place that you have decided to plant as fast as humanly possible. So this is why all that prep work ahead of time is important. You do not want to be doing your bed prep on the same day that you're planting, ideally, because you want the plants to go in the ground as soon as possible. They don't like being out in the sun or in the native conditions for very long, where the roots are exposed and stuff. A lot of bad things can happen if you let the transplant sit for too long. So it's really important to get them in the ground as fast as possible. So for example, this brand new cat tunnel no-dig setup we have, I transplanted 9 beds in 2.5 hours by myself. So, or actually planted 9 beds. Some of them were direct seeded with the Jang, but most of them were transplants like this. So using tools like the paper pot planter and the gritter makes our transplanting go a lot faster. But we want to get that in the ground as fast as possible so we can get them roots underneath the soil and then have water cooling them down as soon as possible, so there's not a lot of risk of anything going wrong. Because as soon as the plants are taken out of the nursery into the native environment, they're going to be stressed, and they'll be a lot less stressed if they're planted in the ground. So step 6 is to monitor the plants about a week after they've been transplanted and keep an eye on them for wilting or any signs of stress. And this matters the most for stuff like lettuce, broccoli plants, like peas that we got over here. A lot of these are very susceptible to stress after the transplant, so you want to be keeping an eye on that. So if they are looking stressed, you can throw some more irrigation water on them to usually cool them off. That usually has to do with heat. You also want to be keeping an eye on them for cold stress as well. So like, for example, I transplanted all of this in about 70-degree weather almost 4 days ago at this point, and we just had a couple of nights in the 20s here in April, where even in this unheated caterpillar tunnel it gets really cold. So I'm checking right now to see how they're doing with the stress of that cold with the one layer of frost cover. So I'm opening the frost covers up to check on them and, you know, kind of just pray that nothing bad is going on. And so if they are looking stressed, I would add an extra layer of row cover to keep them, you know, from being more stressed the next night. You know, a lot of times when they get stunted from the cold, there's not a whole lot you can do to improve the situation, but extra protection will help. And so you just want to keep an eye on them and make sure they're growing, because usually it takes a good week for them to start getting healthily established where you don't have to baby them as much. But I like to keep an eye on them for a good week and just monitor them really closely and see if I need to do anything to help them get established more. So add shade, add frost cover, add water, or whatever needs to be done, because there's a lot of things you can do to help them grow better the first week. So step 7 is to monitor your results and record them, so you know how your seeding and transplanting went for next year, so you can replicate the results or improve on the results that you got. So a lot of transplanting success comes down to seeding at the right time, because if you seed too early, your plants are going to be ready too early, then you'll transplant them too early, they'll get stunted, and you'll almost always get the food that you want later than if you had just waited. Because stunted plants almost always produce food later than plants that grow perfectly from the day you put them in the ground. So, for example, this is not a transplanted crop, but it's a new bed of arugula that I planted in this new no-dig setup we're doing, and it germinated in about 3 days. So I'm going to write that down in my crop plan so I have a record of it, how arugula performed in this specific environment. And I'll do that for all the transplants that we're doing here as well. So I have a record of how it went when I do this again later on the farm. So I know what the results were in this specific situation. So when I replicate this situation in the future, because we're going to do our whole farm like this, I'll have a vague idea of how it's going to perform, which makes a big difference in your performance as a business when you're trying to forecast what your sales are going to be and all that stuff. So records are really important for just getting better at your skill set every single year. And it really is a huge part of how I'm successful at transplanting as much as I am, because a lot of times I've screwed up the seeding to where it's too early, I'm too excited, and I stunt a lot of plants. In Wyoming, that's a very common thing to do. So I found that being patient and waiting for the right time almost always gets me the end result faster than if I tried to be excited and plant too early. So if you're new to this and you're worried about the risk of things going wrong, an easy way to increase the odds of success is just to keep planting all season. That's why I talk about that in a lot of my videos. Just keep seeding food and transplanting food all season. Don't just do it in spring, because you're not only going to learn the skill of what it's like to transplant in the summer and the fall, you're going to also increase the chance of your success of growing something. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing this as a business, growing some kind of food in the land that you have all season long is going to make you money all season long. Instead of trying to just obsess about one specific crop, and if it fails, you don't have a backup plan, that is not a great recipe for success in business. You want something growing in your land at all times. So if things go really badly for you with transplanting, just make sure you have a tool to direct seed crops ready and just direct seed a bed that didn't grow well as a transplant. I used to do that all the time. So like if this kale all wasn't looking good in a week, I'd probably rip it out and just direct seed something that I know will mature relatively quickly, because I know how seeds perform. So just have a backup plan and just keep the idea of continuous planting in your mind throughout the entire season. You're going to increase the chance of your success and make a lot more money. So if the idea of sowing seeds every week of your season is overwhelming, I have a tool that can help you make it happen, and you get every single seed you sow to actually mature in your season. So in my free backyard farm launch pad at the link in the description below, there is an annual planting schedule that you can use to customize all of the start and end dates for about 30 different crops to grow perfectly in your season. So you can look at every single crop as a planting window of when you can sow it and actually get a crop in your season. So you're sowing stuff like snap peas for a month period instead of just one day, and stuff like carrots, it'll give you the start date in the spring all the way up until the last fall planting date for carrots that will mature in your climate. So if you're interested in that, grab that at the link in the description below. And if you want to go deeper down the backyard farming rabbit hole, watch this video where I go over how you can learn farming way faster than almost everybody by continuously planting throughout your entire season, and you'll learn the skill of seeding and transplanting throughout your entire season instead of just in the spring. So if you're interested in that, watch that over here, and I'll see you on the other side.